welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to do a whole class on fun and super easy bean recipes. So the first one we're going to do is going to be a little more time consuming, but most of these, in fact all of these, could be made with canned beans or beans that you've already cooked. So that's one part of the part that makes it easy. So let's see who all's there. I see a few comments coming in. Excellent. I see that Vegan Nana is here. Joanne is here. Carol, Dolores, Marilyn, right? It's Marilyn, isn't it? M. Pennington? I think so. If I'm wrong, tell me. And Tina. So, and Tina is from Inverness, Florida, which is where Cheryl's parents actually live, which is kind of cool. And Marilyn says it's sunny and beautiful in Louisiana. Dolores says it's only 36 degrees with 50% chance snow. That sounds very cold to me right now because I actually turned on the air because we're going to use the oven. Like on Saturday when we had the other class, it was chilly and we had soup for dinner and it was all lovely. Awesome. Okay, great. So I see a few people are here. Everybody's in okay, which sounds awesome. So who knows what a pupusa is? And in fact, I will try and get a picture in case you don't. Hi, Jackie. Are you going to work today? Or do you have the morning off? And how is work, by the way? I would like to know. I'm trying to show you a couple of things. The recipes today are from the Great Vegan Bean book, which is my second book. So it's from a long time ago. And I'm like, these recipes, I am not getting as much use out of them as I used to, because I just kind of keep moving forward, making more recipes. And here we go. And I'll let you see this on the overhead camera. So pupusas, and actually let me bring, there we go, you can see that a lot better. Still getting used to the new camera. It's like, it's made with masa and then it's stuffed with something. And so it's really fun. And they're not as hard to make. And so I thought we would make some today because they're quite inexpensive. And Jackie is at work and it's slow. Excellent. I love it when you get to do two things at once. So the first thing, you can fill them really with anything. So we could fill them with vegan chorizo, and if you have, I think it's the air fryer book, isn't it, that has, basically all I do is take rice cauliflower and put chorizo spices with it. You could put those in there. You could put leftover refried beans. You could put really leftovers of almost anything inside of this. So we're going to make a paste. Oh, and Carol likes the bean book. Thank you. So this is just one can of black beans that have been strained. And we could puree these in any way. I'm just going to mash them because I want them to seem rustic. You guys know rustic is should be my middle name. Rustic means everything's okay. And this doesn't have to be black beans. You do have the recipes on Podia and for all of these. Okay. And we don't want this mixture too terribly wet, but we might add some water if we need to, if these get a little dry. Okay. And let me show you this. We don't have to have homemade chili powder. But this is some guajillo chili powder that I just made. And you guys, fresh made chili powder smells like heaven. And so guajillo is not a spicy chili and neither is ancho. And I figured if we have some extra time, I'll grind these up, but I can show them to you. These are the ancho chilies. So those are the already dried chilies. But I've cut them, taken the seeds out and the ribs, and I put them in my Breville Air to dehydrate. You don't have to have a fancy dehydrator. These work just fine in the cheap one. I use the Breville because it's out. And you want to make it until it's crunchy. Can you guys kind of hear that? Because it needs to be dry enough to grind into a powder. And so the guajilos were very similar to that, only a different color and a different chili. And so then I just put them in here, and this is my Ninja spice grinder. And I'll come back and put some links. You do not have to get a Ninja. You do not have to have the Ninja spice grinder. You can use your coffee grinder, or I would suggest, if you're going to do a lot of spice blends coming up to in the future when thrift stores are open again, and those of you who are watching this much later, this was filmed during the new normal, or COVID-19, when everybody's at home making pupusas. So if it seems weird, you can go out and at thrift stores always have coffee grinders. Just run like some cheap white rice through it until you can get the coffee smell out of it, and then it can be your spice grinder. Same thing you could do back and forth using white rice before and after. But if you're a real coffee drinker, eventually you're not going to like it. But so that's what I made with this. And this is a blend of different chilies. I'm pretty sure there's some ancho in here because they're dark. And so I made that a while ago. And Beverly says hello from Santa Cruz, California. Welcome. And Joanne loves the Bean Book. It needs to be updated and republished. Maybe. They didn't do such an amazing job with the updated version of the vegan slow cooker. So I might like the idea of doing more bean recipes in a different way. But we'll see what happens. Brenda says, good morning, everybody from Eastern Washington. And Jackie said this is one of her favorite books. Oh, Marilyn has her book out to follow along. You guys are the best. Okay, so basically what we're doing with these beans, and this is perfect quarantine food, honestly. Now we are going to use some masa, which you may or may not have in your pantry normally. If you don't normally, I would encourage you to go ahead and think about doing, getting some, because you can make your own tortillas, you can do a lot of things. This isn't very spicy, so I'm going to put about a 1/4 teaspoon of this and a 1/4 teaspoon of the darker one. Now, there is a recipe with exact measures, and honestly, that's because it was in a cookbook. So you can really put anything you want. It says to put some garlic and onion, and I am not chopping that up. Let me grab the onion powder. So basically, all we're doing is taking these canned beans and turning them into, for all intents and purposes, refried beans. And there is not a thing wrong with that. Let's put a little bit of smoked paprika in there. Get that a little yummy. We'll put some cumin in. And let's put a little bit of oregano. And so if you're unsure, remember we can smell things together to see if that suits us. I'm going to put about a 1/2 teaspoon of this in there. And Vegan Nana likes the idea of deodorizing the coffee grinder. Yeah, and masa is really inexpensive, so it's an awesome thing to have around. Let me see if I can. And you can make tortillas, you can make like different things. You do not want to use cornmeal instead, though. It's not the same thing. This has been treated with lime, and it's ground quite smooth. I'll let you see that. I mean, it looks a lot like a really fine ground cornmeal, but it's not. So you do need to kind of have some. I think this whole bag might have been $2.50. I got it on sale. If you have a Hispanic market, that's super awesome, because you will find things cheaper. You will get these dried chilies, like what I'm making chili powder with. You can spend a lot of money and get them online. However, why? You know, like, so the hands-off time is really big, and I just usually do a big batch. So I fill up usually all three of the dehydration racks, and then I just let it go overnight, and then I grind everything up. And for something that's so simple, it's also an amazing birthday, Christmas, holiday gift because it smells amazing. And especially if we end up having to gift in the new normal, you could probably make a whole bunch for just a couple of dollars and use some little mason jars like this. And there you go, gifts. I know if you want to give me some, I would be happy. So I hope you would be happy too. Now I'm also going to put a little bit of salt in here. If you are salt-free, totally don't have to do that. You could use a salt substitute instead. And if you've gotten the newest book, Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking in Your Instant Pot, I actually have a salt-free blend in there that you can use. And Chef AJ has been making it and putting it on everything she says. So let me let you see what this looks like. Ah, and Chris is in Santa Cruz, California as well. And Carol said, yeah, it is cornmeal-ish. I like that. And so you guys see how it's just pretty much mush. And I'm just still trying to make sure I get everything in there. And this can be those cans of beans that you have in the back of your cabinet that you're like, well, if I ever have to use these. You would not be sad to taste this. You can taste kind of those dark umami flavors from the chili powders and the smoked paprika, but you get a little bit from the garlic, and it's kind of tempered with a little bit of that oregano. And if you had Mexican oregano, you could totally use it instead of a regular oregano. So I'm happy, and in fact, if I made these just like this and warmed up some tortillas, we'd be pretty happy right there. So one of the things I want you to realize in today's class is that even though some of the things we may do may be a little bit fancy pants, there's very easy ways around it. So I'm cooking up some heirloom beans for one of the recipes, but you can totally use canned black beans for that too. So canned beans are great because they last a long time and they're cheap. So one of the things we're going to do is make the masa for this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put about ½ teaspoon of salt in here. I'm just going to mix that around a little bit. Yeah, and jalapeno powder is my favorite powder to make. Joanne knows that. Oh, and Brenda said she loved the gift class I did this past holiday. Please do another one. I'd love to. I love making spices. Spice blends are kind of my jam. And Chef AJ keeps wanting me to sell them, and I'm like, that's a lot of work. So if anybody has manufacturing experience and wants to partner, we can talk. However, I think I'm happier just making the recipes right now. Okay. So I've just mixed the salt in there, and then we're going to put, oh, this measuring cup spills. Bet you can't guess I got it at the thrift store. Let's put some of this in here. And it can change. So we've got about 2½ cups of masa in here, and we're aiming towards 2 cups of water. And we may have to go back and forth a little bit, especially since I poured some out. And at some point, I will also be moving this around with my hands. And it's good if once you get things going, the batter cannot be either too moist or too dry. And we'll talk about why as we're making these. But basically, if it's too moist, it's going to stick to your hands. But if it's too dry, it's going to crack open, and your filling will peek out. So we're going to let this sit for just a minute. And see how let me see if I can make this a little bit darker. I think it's hard to see the masa. Let's take down the, there we go. Is that a little bit better? And Joanne says it's my nose is how I can do beans like this. You guys all have a nose. It works. It's just a matter of being aware. I'm going to grab some more water just in case. Okay. Yeah, the gift cloud, I like doing that. I always worry because those don't seem to sell out as much. So, let's see. Okay, so if I take some in my hand right now, what we're looking to do is make a ball. And actually, can I use your help, Cheryl? Can you come to where it says on the, over there, camera and effects? Move that up. Yeah, way up. Can you zoom in on my hand? And you can see it happen there. Okay. Yeah. I hate to do this. Okay. So what I want you to see is it's not sticking to my hand, right? It's moist. It's not really cracking. I keep wanting to go up closer, I'm sorry. And I'm going to press this open. Now here's a way you can tell. So these edges didn't crack a lot. Let's see, which way do I need to go? These edges didn't crack a lot. Okay? So that's how I think we're pretty close. Okay, can you do the camera towards me? Yeah, that one. Thanks. I'm going to have the messy hands, so you may have to do the camera work. So in general, we're going to make about 12 golf ball size chunks. And you could be real fancy and you could weigh them. We all know that I'm not going to weigh them. Because you know what? If I get 13, that's just exciting. And if I get 11, that is okay too. So I'm just making these into little balls. And literally, you can also wet your hands if things are sticking too much as well. And Maxie says hello. Actually, Maxie says, where's my churro? Because Maxie is a naughty, baggy dog. Okay. And I'm sorry if I missed that. Pupusas sound like a flat tamale, and they are a little bit. They're an Ecuadorian dish. So they're kind of like a stuffed tortilla. So it is similar. Instead of steaming them like you would a tamale, you can pan fry them. And I can't remember if anybody deep fries them. They may, because, you know. Let's see. Oh, you're so funny. Brenda says, I love you, queen of go with the flow. Cheryl's like rolling her eyes because I get a little OCD obsessed sometimes with things being a certain way. So let me assure you, I think that's why I think about it so much more than normal people do though. Okay, we're gonna just set this dough aside for a minute. And Cheryl, if you can go to the other camera now, please. You're going to have to move that, yeah, right there. There, just click on it. Yeah, you can click on it right in the pad. Okay, so this is not all of them, but I want to show you one. Let me see where's a good, okay, that's a better place. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to squish it. Southerners probably deep fry them. And so what you want to do is you don't want it too thin, but you've got to make a little kind of nest with it. guys see that? And then we're going to take a heaping teaspoon, maybe not that much heaping, this much heaping, and we're going to put that in the middle. So, right, so we've got a little, so what we're going to do is pull the dough over. And so it takes a little finessing, and I'm sorry, I keep moving away from the camera. It's because I'm short, and I need to lean forward. Okay, now you may be going, well, now it looks like a hot mess. Well, we're going to fix that, okay? We just want to make sure it's about the same thickness around the filling. We're going to roll it. You can roll it on here if you want, right? And so now we have a ball of beans about equidistant. Now, if you look right there, there may be a bean that comes out. That could have been on my hand or not. Then we're going to take it. And this is when you can tell the dough is moist enough, right? Because even though it's cracking just ever so slightly, it's not much at all. And Cheryl, will you take one of those pans and put it here? Okay. And I just move it around like this. So you see where some may come out. And you know what? Rustic. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's do it this way. Okay, good. Okay, so that's one. Let's see about making another one. And it's important they don't dry out. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not using all the dough right now. So, and you can even just go in here and stick a thumb in here, but you do not want to make this bottom part too thin. That is important because that's where all the beans will escape. Okay, so about a teaspoon of dip. And this is about 2 tablespoons worth of dough, approximately. Okay. And while it sounds super, super time consuming, you see how fast these are, right? So, and it's really kind of a fun idea for a party. Right? Okay, so now we're going to gently, you have to gently do it. See, this one's almost sticking, so I really need some water probably. I'm going to take the spatula. And we can make it work, right? Make it work. Because the more doughy my hands get, the more likely it's going to stick to itself. Here we go. And I'm actually going to put these in the oven, and you can freeze these. I'm going to wash this stuff off my hands real quick. And Cheryl, if you see any comments, you can click on those comments and then they'll pop up for everybody to see. Let's see, like this. And then you can click it again and it goes away. Oh, okay. So if you want to be in charge of that. And I'll go ahead and do front for a minute. Okay, so again, and you can just put some water on your hands, which is what I should have done. Okay. And you can just make it like a pillow, just don't push it too far down. So there's all these different ways, and I've made them with my friend Sandra Gutierrez, who is actually a Latin American food expert from Guatemala. So I feel very fortunate that she's my friend, and she helps me learn how to make these things better. Sandra Gutierrez is her name. She has Latin American Street Foods. It is not a vegan book, but almost everything can be made vegan with some substitutes. So see how I pulled that up? And it almost looks like a little dim sum or something. Okay, and then I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit. Go around, make it a little bit more round. So far, no beans have been. Usually the more tired I get, the more little beans or something are going to poke out there. It is a great hand food, and you can heat them up or you can eat them room temperature too. They are sometimes served with like a coleslaw, like a vinegar slaw on top too, that's really good. So see how I just made, you remember when you were like making clay things? So it's like making your little clay bowl.
What about dips?
I usually use salsa, but you could use any kind of, if one of the ways Sandra ate them, because I gifted her my tequila lime hot sauce that's from the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot. And she likes it because I was really nervous. I wanted her to try it. It was my first try at a more traditional hot sauce with a twist. And she likes it. So actually, every time I go to visit her, I bring her some and she eats it. So you could use like any of your favorite hot sauces or salsas. You could use a salsa verde. I mean, it's your pupusa. You just made it. What would you like on it? You could put like a cauliflower cheese sauce on it if you wanted to. Because I like to live on the edge. And you guys, there's a little teeny tiny bean there, but I think that's from my hand more, and it's not it busting open. And again, if it busts open, or if it's not perfect, yay, right? Okay. Do we have any, will you see if there's any questions below that? Okay, good. And so, and you can see too by this dough, just how silky soft it is. So the masa is like, I don't know, it almost puts all-purpose flour to shame in its silkiness. Okay, so I'm pulling the edges up. I'm just kind of moving some of that dough around. It reminds me of playing with Play-Doh, honestly. It's got to be that kind of moist yet not disgusting, sort of sticky. And it's okay to add more flour. It's also okay to add more water if it's dry. So like if I press it and the edges really crack and it starts to crack through, that means it's too dry. And you want it right on the edge of too wet. Okay. And see, there's a couple of little edges, but they're good. Will there be extra filling? Yeah, probably. There's also going to be a lot more pupusas, but you could squeeze in as much filling as you want, but at a certain point it becomes harder. Max is down here just grumping. I don't like pupusas, Max says.
He does like the pupusa.
But see, like with this extra filling, seriously, we'll probably use it in a quesadilla, or if I feel like from today there's more food than I think we should have. Here, I'll try and put 2 teaspoons in, and we'll see how that goes. Because you want it to be in the center. So we're going to pull up about the same amount. Okay. But you could also put any leftovers in the freezer like that. So if you know you're having pupusas tonight and you don't know what you're having from 3 days from now, then you could pull that out and make a quick taco with it too. So I do that a lot. I always have refried beans in the freezer. You can sort of see a little teeny tiny peeky out there.
I don't know if you saw that question.
No, okay. Yeah, I addressed it out loud while you were next to me.
Sorry.
See what I live with, people? See what I live with? Okay.
I'm trying to keep the dog calm.
Let me see how long I decided 8 years ago that I should put these in. 10 minutes on one side, 10 minutes on the other. You want to put this on and put 10 minutes?
No.
Okay. So let's make a few more balls of masa. Pupusas can totally be frozen. I usually still freeze them a little bit. So I cook them most of the way, and then I heat them. You can heat them in the air fryer. You can heat them in the oven. You can heat them excuse me, on the stovetop. And so that's what I usually do because we're just a household of 2.
And a half if you count.
Well, Max likes to eat whatever he can eat. Okay. And all in all, it doesn't take that long to do these. And so I think what we may do, I was thinking, would you like to try and make some set up over there?
Make some.
Fill
Oh,
some
you make-
pupusas?
Fill some up for you.
This is new. I've not asked her if she wanted to do this.
Sure.
Okay. Here we can do one together, and that way. Because I would like to get these cooked up, even though we're having a class. Because that way, and you can make them bigger or smaller too, so don't feel like, if you think this is a waste to make them as small, then make them bigger. And Jackie said, I almost bought the masa for corn and for flour tortillas. Oh, I know, I miss flour tortillas because I can't eat gluten anymore, so. But masa's just good to have. And I make the worst, ugliest little corn tortillas, and my friend Sandra is so sweet because she says, as you go more down into Central America, they get thicker. So she says, I just make Central American. I think she's just trying to make me feel better. But you know what? Sometimes I'll take what I can get. So, let's see what we got here. Get all, not wasting no masa. There. Okay, so we'll do one together.
Okay.
Okay. Wash your hands.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah, it is kind of therapeutic, you know. It's like, and it's nice and silky soft. And actually, let me make these all kind of rounder. So Cheryl doesn't have to do that. And I think this would be fun, especially if you have kids right now, to give them something to do. Maybe, I wish I could give this to Max to have something to do. Max wishes it too, probably. Okay. So I'm going to wash my hands because I'm super sticky now from divvying up that dough. And I'm also going to rinse this off while I'm here because I think I'm going to need it later. Okay. So we are going to take one of these in our hand. Okay. And you're going to make like a little hole. But you want to keep, no, see?
I don't understand how you're making a hole
okay.
if you don't have.
Okay, so let's try the ball again. Okay, so I'm going to stick my finger in the ball to make a hole.
Okay.
And then I just kind of make it a little more even around. Okay, can you feel that? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to take a heaping teaspoon of this and put in here. We want to get him in there and we want to hide him. So, do you want to see one up close because you weren't paying attention?
I can.
And so you don't have to push that down. You have to kind of pull those up.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're going to roll it into a ball again.
Okay.
And then you're going to smash it.
Okay.
Let me bring the other. Okay. And if you do, here, let me show you this one real quick. And hopefully anyone who is feeling like they didn't quite get it, this will slow the process down a little bit more too. And the first couple ones you're going to mess up. and it's okay. Yeah, it doesn't need to be perfect. Cheryl likes to make things perfect. So it takes her a lot longer to cook than it does me. So see, there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I don't have to make it perfect. I make it rounder later. Okay?
Okay. So, thank you.
Okay. So Cheryl's going to finish those up, and we are going to make something else. And I'll give you, here. How's that? Okay. Okay, let me put this over here. So how are you guys holding up? Are you feeling more of the interesting times right now or no? Joanne says husbands and kids should learn how to cook. Yeah. That is something to think about, isn't it? Okay. And first pupusas sometimes can be like first pancakes. So I've made a good amount of pupusas in different situations. So I feel pretty solid on my pupusa making. Let's make this next, because I think I have most of the spices out here too. So one of the things we're going to make is bean chorizo crumbles. And I haven't made these in forever. We'll get these going. So I have a can of rinsed cannellini beans. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to toast some spices, and we're going to mash these beans together with some grains. So I actually need a larger bowl than I thought I did. Can I squeeze over here and get a bowl? Thank you. How's it going?
Okay.
You're killing it. Okay. So we're going to mash these beans, and I forgot we were going to put grain in there too. So yeah, I needed a bigger bowl. So just like I did, and these are a can of white beans. So a lot of times, especially in the bean book, I just say white beans a lot, because it could be navy beans, it could be Great Northern beans, it can be cannellini beans, it can be whatever. And they all work pretty much the same. Okay, so I'm just going to mash these guys. And any of these beans, you don't have to use canned beans either, okay? So know that. And basically all we're doing is we're mashing the beans. They're going to be the things that hold everything together. And Dolores noticed that on a sunny, warm day, she's feeling better. Gray and cold days kind of get me down. Yeah, little things are definitely harder right now with the new normal. And Vegan Nana says, I was a little down on Monday, but feel optimistic and upbeat today. Yay! Thank you for being upbeat for all of us. I'm sure I can feel it all the way over here. Okay, so let me get some of these spices that are basically what we were using before. And we're going to use a couple of the chili powders. Again, now in this recipe, I toasted the chili powders, but honestly, since we are going to kind of toast this little by little, we don't have to. So let's go ahead and we're going to put some garlic powder in here, because I'm definitely too lazy to do garlic today. Even though I brought it over here, I'm just like, eh. Okay, so I'm putting some garlic powder in there. We're going to put a lot of chili powder. Now what we want to make sure that we're putting in there is chili powder that's not spicy though. And so I said to use pasilla, and I don't have any. So I'm actually using guajillo, which is very easy to get, and that's what I made today, fresh. So we're going to put that in there. And then I have some ancho pretty sure it's ancho that I had before. And we're going to put 2 tablespoons of that in. That's okay. And let's see what we got here. And I'm also going to flip these guys over. And let me let you see. I need a spatula. And you could use some oil on your pan if you eat oil. So see, they're not going to brown up a whole lot, but they get a little bit golden. With oil, they're going to be darker. Also, if you wanted to eat them right now, you could cook them a little bit extra in the air fryer. I also have a recipe for pupusas in the air fryer book too. So I'm going to put them in for about 10 more minutes. And again, I'm doing this mostly to kind of pre-cook them for the freezer or for another cooking. But I could totally do it longer without any problem at all. So we're going to put some, a tablespoon of oregano. Back to our bean chorizo crumbles. We are going to do a teaspoon of cumin. And if you don't have any special chili powders, if you have a 4-chili the stew blend, you could use that and some paprika to get the color as well. So let's see here. I want to do salt and pepper. Oh, and this is what the pasilla chili looked like before it was ground up or toasted. So see how they're, even though they're dried chilies, they are kind of leathery rather than being crisp where you could just put them right into the grinder. So we're going to put some pepper in here. We're going to do about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and about a teaspoon of salt, which seems like a lot, but we're going to mix 4 cups of millet in there too. So it's not as much per serving as it seems. However, if you don't use salt, please, there's no need to. Don't feel like you have to use salt. You can totally use a salt substitute or leave it out entirely. So we're basically making this spice yumminess. Okay. There we go. My counter is like 3 feet wide. So, and I am 5'1", for those of you who don't realize just how short I am. And you guys, when you smell it, it smells really yummy. Okay, now let's get some of this mixed in. Or all of it. So I just cooked this millet earlier. So what this mixture should be a lot like is something like Give Me Lean. And we're also going to put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in there to give it some flavor. And I may need to get in there with my hands. So we're going to put about 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar in there. And you don't have to use millet. You could use quinoa. You probably could use cooked rice. Any grain will do. So this could be something you make actually if you've cooked some beans and cooked some grains. This could just be what you make with the leftovers if you have it. I had some millet and I only have a little bit of quinoa left, and it's black quinoa. And I didn't think it would look as nice. And see how it's still getting that chorizo color? And as we mix all this together, and this is just millet. And how did I cook the millet? I cooked 2 cups of millet and 6 cups of water. I brought it to a boil and then simmered it for about 25 minutes or until it was tender. And so I actually cooked up the whole pound. And actually, let me let you guys see this. Make sure that while you're mixing this, You get all the goodies from the bottom because there's still a lot of chili pepper in there. It seemed like we didn't put enough spices in for all of this mix, right? But see how it ends up being. Oh, I'm taller than Jackie. So there's one person I'm taller than in the world, but that may be, well, it's not really yet. I'm actually 5'1.5". So, and I'm used to being the shortest person, so I never know how to deal with people who are shorter than me because I'm always looking up. It's very funny. And see how this looks a little bit like Give Me Lane too? It's got that sticky, icky kind of texture to it. Now you can either freeze some of it like this. Right now we could freeze it to use it later, but we're going to cook up at least one batch of this and make it into kind of crumbles and cooked crumbles. So you could freeze it now or you could freeze it later. I want to make sure I get all this mixed in good. And realize if you decide to use chipotle peppers or ghost peppers or something crazy like that, you should have a glove on. The peppers I'm using are not spicy. So that's why I'm not dying. But I am going to go wash my hand really well as I taste this. Oh, Marilyn's 5'1.5" too. We need to start a club. Yeah, it tastes really good, you guys. So you can get the soy chorizo at Trader Joe's and some other places. And it does taste really good. It's made of soy, so if you can't have soy, you can't eat it. It also has a good bit of oil in it. And Cheryl's doing awesome. She's making the very serious face, though. She likes to do things the right way. She's not like me when it comes to cooking. I'm kind of like, let's give it a go. Okay. It is time to work with my nemesis, the induction burner. Okay, let's probably put about a cup of it in there. And so we could also do this on a pan in the oven because I do a lot of things like that so that I don't have to do things in multiple batches. But like Give Me Lean, if you've ever cooked it, basically we're just drying out the mixture and we're going to chop it some as it goes along. And Stephanie is 5'1". That is hilarious. We are like, and I don't mean to leave any of you taller ladies out. You guys are awesome too. We would not have light if it were not for the tall people to change light bulbs. And so a lot of times I'll just come and chop it. And I like this little guy. This is actually from Dream Farm. And so it's a good, very thin one, and it has a little choppy part to it on the side. And it's great for stuff like this. And so if you were here right now, you'd start feeling and smelling the chilies toasting. So, like I said, we get smarter as we go along, and 8 years ago, I decided we should toast this first. I'm lazier and older now, I guess. And you could seriously, you can make these into patties if you wanted, although chorizo is not really a patty sort of sausage. But again, you've made something from scratch, and if it would be kind of cool to serve some of this maybe next to a Mexican scramble or on top of a tortilla with some scramble. We're actually going to make some little cups, little brunch cups. So we're going to take some corn tortillas. You could use flour tortillas, cut them up, put them in muffin cups. We're going to put some scramble, some of this, and some bean cheese on top. And you can pretty much have all of those things in the freezer, or like with the tofu, we'll see, we're basically going to make a bowl of it with the spices, and it's just going to heat up in the oven itself. So that is also something kind of cool. And Jackie says, I'm married to a man that's 5'11", so I have someone to get things out of high cabinets. Yep, Cheryl does that. We also have step stools a lot of places too. Yeah, it's kind of, and isn't it funny? Dolores said that looks amazing. And isn't it hilarious now that you know what all is in there? It looks like there's like got to be 70,000 different ingredients. Now there were a lot of spices, I'll give you that. But basically we turned a can of beans and some cooked millet into chorizo with all those spices. And like Give Me Lean, I mean, you still have to kind of cook it and whatnot to get it to really kind of get those crumbles. Oh, is that called a chalupa? You know, I don't know if the little mini one is. I'm going to turn this down a minute. That is the oven saying, hello, your stuff's ready. 10 minutes went fast. So if I was just going to freeze them, I would leave them like this. So they're not all, and some of them are going to get a little funny on the bottom, and that's okay. They're still delicious. So I'm going to take those out. And so sometimes they steam a little on the bottom. Look at you go. And I'll leave that on so you can put them in. Okay. And maybe that was good that I went away. I get impatient. I can't have Give Me Lean anymore because it has gluten in it. But I used to make a really mean sausage gravy with it. And you know what? You could use, instead of making a chorizo blend with this, you could use like a breakfast sausage spice blend and make it exactly like Give Me Lean. A friend of mine for a while couldn't have soy, and so she had asked me to find a soy-free chorizo for her, and this is what I came up with. And it tastes really good. Just want to get, whoop, going crazy, throwing things out of the pan. It's that kind of day. It's a Thursday, right? It is Thursday, isn't it? It's Wednesday. Woo! Okay. Who else thought it was Thursday? Anybody? Or is it just me? A chopula. Oh, I'm making you hungry. I wish you lived near here because I would have you some stuff to pick up. It does make me feel kind of good that two of our friends are nurses, and so from the last class we gave them a bunch of stuff, and they'll get some stuff from this class too. Though they may have to cook the chorizo themselves. I may not crumble it up for them. But it sticks together enough that you probably could do something like a chorizo burger if you wanted to. If you get impatient like I do with this stuff. But I think I get more impatient than most people when it comes to a lot of these things. Did you hear Cheryl's snarkiness? Go ahead and put those on 12 minutes. The reason I'm saying to put it on a little bit longer is because instead of 2 rows, she has 3 rows. They're pretty close together. Now, if you can't easily slide the spatula under the pupusa to turn it over, then you probably should just leave it for a little bit longer. That's all. La 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 la. Choppy choppy chop. Yeah, it's great in Dolores, you're absolutely right. It would be great in tacos, taco salads, burritos. And yeah, you could, and you're the only vegan, so like, I mean, seriously, so you see we have that much in there. There's like a pound of this stuff in here. So I took maybe an 1/8 or a 1/6 of it. So you could seriously make this up once, freeze this in containers and pull it out and do it in single servings or weekly servings if you wanted to. And so again, I'm just drying this out so it'll get crisp and crunchy. Everything's already cooked, so it's not like we're really cooking anything as much as we're creating a texture with the food. And it has been so long since I've made these, you guys. I'm kind of excited to rediscover them. And see how the more it cooks, the more it gets a little bit crispier. And when I think of sausage crumbles of any kind, chorizo or otherwise, I do think about some of those little crunchy edges. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It's our dinner, and it's going to be delicious, perfect or not. And this is also going to go in our little cups on top. Yeah, the family will never know. And chorizo and a tofu scrambled taco, and that's kind of what we're doing. And Joanne says she can't figure out when it is anymore either. And I've had like interviews and meetings and stuff, so I'm like checking my calendar every day to make sure I don't really miss anything. Now I'm going to sit this over here in the hot pan, turn off my nemesis, the induction burner, for just a few moments. And I think, and I may use that a little bit. So that's one part of our breakfast dish. Another part of our breakfast dish is going to be making a bean cheese. So let me get some of this stuff over here. I have some cashews that I've soaked. So I'm going to drain those, and I'm also going to drain and rinse a can of white beans. And I'm using cannellini beans. And one of the Trader Joe's always has cannellini beans, so I always stock up. If you are on a salt-free diet, please check. You can get no salt beans. Also, you can get shelf-stable beans that are not in cans, that are in those shelf-stable containers, if that makes you feel better as well. So that's something else you can do. Let me get all these guys and come back. So first thing I'm going to do is rinse these beans. Just put them through a colander. And some of them stick a little bit on the bottom. And then I'm just rinsing and getting the aquafaba, the goop off. You could be saving the aquafaba. White bean aquafaba does okay. I've heard black bean aquafaba does not. If these were chickpeas, chickpeas seem to do the best. So I often will save that. You know what? Just stick these in here. Okay, and these I've just soaked this morning, these cashew pieces. If you can't have nuts, this might work out okay with oats. I haven't tried it exactly, so I could be wrong, but that would be my guess. And so this I made before I made the cauliflower queso that you guys are probably a little more familiar with. Okay. And I'm just moving these guys around. It makes me happy. You should do what makes you happy. Okay, cool. So I also need some spices and things and some non-dairy milk, right? Actually, to get the recipe would be a good idea. Okay. Cashews. We're going to do a half a cup of non-dairy milk. So let me see if I can look on here. I am right now using unsweetened almond milk with no flavoring. And this may make it a little thick. Let's make it a little bit thinner. I'm going to go for just a little over that. And hopefully I won't regret it. I'm going to pour these guys in there. A lot of things from the bean book you need to blend. And we're also going to make some black bean cookies. And I know someone was asking me about black bean brownies recently. I think it was Joanne, actually. And And so this is kind of what I'm giving you in return, possibly not what you want. We're going to put in some nutritional yeast. Actually, I can move this back here. Okay, we're going to do a 1/4 cup, and this little thing is 1/8 of a cup. We're going to put in some green chilies because we're kind of making this like a queso, so we want it to be a little bit, have a little zip. Green chilies aren't really that spicy, and I always try to have a few cans on hand. This is also good. You could do a similar thing with cauliflower instead of the beans. And again, I'm pretty sure if you use rolled oats instead of the cashews, that should give you a little bit of a creamy feeling as well. We're going to put 1 to 2 tablespoons of the chilies, depending on what we like. So let's start with 1. We'll decide we like 1 now. And a teaspoon of chili powder. So I might normally use something like this. Okay. Let me get it where you can see it. All right, so there's chili powder, paprika, salt, cumin, pepper, and oregano. So that's what I mean when I say chili for the stew chili powder. So we could use that, but we have this lovely fresh chili powder, so why not use that? So we're going to use a teaspoon. Actually, that one is wet. Let's use this guy. And you could also not put chili powder in here and put jalapeno powder, like instead of the normal chilies. We're going to do a teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you hate smoke, use the regular. Okay. And you could put in some salt or salt substitute. You could also put in some jalapeno. I bet you can guess that I'm getting ready to put in some jalapeno powder, just a little bit, because Cheryl is not a huge fan of spicy. That's probably about what we can handle. And then we'll put a little salt in. I do find whenever, like with the bean book and the oat book in particular, these take a little more salt if you use salt. We could also put in some garlic powder and maybe some onion powder, and that would also be kind of helpful to get that kind of salt flavor if you don't use salt. So let's put a little bit of garlic in there and see if I can cut down on the salt. I am not going to put any black pepper in here. I'm going to put this over here. These guys are still doing okay. All right, I'm going to use Maxie's least favorite blender. Okay. Hey, buddy. You're being a good boy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Yes, you're a good boy. I can't touch you. But I can make this stop for a minute. Okay. Let's let you see overhead. Okay. So considering, I think that looks pretty queso-esque to me. And let's taste it and see how, if everything's balancing or if we need to add anything else. Ooh, I like the smoky. It's a little spicy. I think the cashews do need to be a little bit more smooth, unfortunately. And if I had probably soaked them the night before or decided to use the most powerful blender, it probably would be easier. So here we go. visually looks so much smoother to me already. So I feel good about that. Okay. Let's get this set up. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Okay. I'll leave this for you to look at while I go flip over the pupusas. And Cheryl did a great job on them. Okay, I'm going to put these in for about 12 more minutes. And for me, putting the timer on is super important because I will totally forget. So let's look at how smooth this is now. I mean, it's just smooth, smooth, smooth. And I'm going to give this a taste again. I was pretty pleased with the taste before. I think it's really good. It's got a little bit of a bite, but not so much that it's going to kill you. Scrape some of this off of here. My multitasking kind of amazes me right now too, because I'm not feeling the multitasking that much. Some days more than others. But I have found, it's like usually my cup kind of starts the day on a bad day, halfway, 3/4 of the way full, and it's much fuller these days. So it's not so much that I'm having a hard time, but I do find that little things rattle me more. Like, I love doing these classes, but I do find myself even getting a little bit more nervous about how things are going to go, or is everything okay? Last Saturday when we switched all the equipment and stuff, that nearly did me in. And I'm going to rinse this because if not, everything's going to dry on there and make me a very unhappy human being. Okay, so we've got a few more things to do to make our little breakfast yummies. We're going to make some, like a little scrambled tofu. And honestly, this is how I often make my scrambled tofu. So I just kind of take it and squish it in a bowl with some stuff. And so I'm just using half of one of the Trader Joe's sprouted tofu. You could totally make more than this. This is what I have, and that's kind of what the recipe called for. And even though we all know that I prefer the super firm because it is already pressed, this is still pretty good. I'm just smelling it to make sure it's fresh. It's way in date. And then I am literally going to crush this and mix some spices in with it. So let's change these guys out. Now, we are not going to cook this on the pan. We're just going to bake it and warm everything up. So you can kind of see the crumbles now and see how they are really crumbly. And the cheese. You could put some veggies in here too if you wanted to. And a lot of times I'll use a masher for this, but honestly your hands is just faster. So let me rinse off so everything I touch is not full of the tofu. And I was using a different size tortilla, so let's see what we need to do to change that up. I'm going to put some turmeric, and that's going to make it egg colored, right? And then I'm going to put a little bit of paprika, and you can use plain or smoked. And I think I'm going to use plain this time, just a little bit. I'm also going to put kalinamak. So it is a pink salt that's called black salt, but it smells like eggs. And it's actually, seems to, at least taste-wise, it's lower in sodium than the regular salts, but it makes it taste and smell like egg. So if you don't use salt, you can totally leave this out. So don't feel like you have to. I have no idea what just fell, but it was something. I don't know if you guys could hear all that exciting nonsense go on. Oh, what? That's the spice grinder for my Ninja? I missed that. This one? Yeah, this is the spice grinder for the Ninja. It fits on, and I'll come back and put links to some things as well. I did like a little sheet in Podia on one of the classes, and I'm going to try and come back and do that. I am also looking to some other sources besides Amazon because A, Amazon's not sending everything out right now, and B, Amazon slashed commissions, sometimes from 8% to 1%. So that's not helpful or nice during this new normal time. So what you can see here, and let's see, these classes are like being in your kitchen, Joanne says. There's no need to stress for us. We know how to ask if we have questions. I have to say, so Saturday was a hard day. I woke up just feeling like I wanted to cry for no good reason. And I know a lot of this is the stress on my adrenals, and you know what I mean? We can get very sciencey with things, but sometimes you just feel what you feel. And then as I did the class, I felt better after the class than I had in a long time. So you guys are amazing. You're just amazing, and you make my life so rich and wonderful, and I really hope you know how much I appreciate all of you. And see, now I'm tearing up. Like this is, you would think I'm like hormonal woman, but I do love you guys a lot. You're pretty amazing, and it's amazing that we're all trying to eat better and do things better for ourselves. And see how this starts looking a little more like scrambled egg. And so it's not, if you've been vegan for a really long time, it's not so important for them to look this way. But if you're inviting omnivores over to try this, it doesn't hurt that it looks familiar to them. And it kind of tastes like egg from the kalinamak too, okay? So, and what I want you to kind of imagine is not that you got up this morning and made all this stuff like we did today. Like, right, you could just bake the cheese sauce and that and have some chorizo crumbles ready in the fridge to make some of these. And yeah, Carol says, as a customer, I'm reevaluating Amazon, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one because we've historically bought a lot of our stuff from them, and they treat their employees badly. I think that's Dawn. And, aw, Brenda says, we love you, Kathy, and so appreciate you sharing with us. You guys are just, seriously, you're the best. And, yeah, you just are. I'm just very, very lucky to have gotten such wonderful people as you guys to come hang out with me. Let's see what, ooh. That one is a little bit messed up. Let's try, I'm going to cut one of these and we'll see. So theoretically, we don't need to do anything with this. These are my kitchen scissors, and I wanted to just try doing quarters of these and seeing how that looks. I'll let you see as I'm doing my experiment. Personally, if I were you, I would use a little bit bigger flour tortilla, okay? And we could probably make these, let's see if I can make these a little bit bigger. because it's a little more like that. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to save these for chips, and I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take a couple of these. Let's do like 4. And I'm going to, and you could, again, you could do this with a knife. I'm going to take about 1/3 of it off to make it closer to what I was using before, and then cut those in half. Because basically we're making them into little cups. So if they're a little bit bigger, that's fine. If they're a little bit smaller, that's fine, really, you know. Who am I to complain? Okay.
I smell eggy stuff.
Yes, you do. Okay, let's get these guys in here. Do you remember these? We haven't had these for a really long time. I think it's been a while since somebody's come over for brunch, and we've made our little, so again, I'm going to get about 1/3 of that off. And that's just because I'm using corn tortillas. I think I said to use 8-inch tortillas, and these are probably 6-inch tortillas. So we're just going to press those in. And I'm going to put these scraps in here in my tortilla bag, and I'm going to make tortilla crisps after this. Okay, so I just want to check real quick over here on the pupusa side of things. They are okay. We will be able to switch things out. Yeah, we'll be able to switch things out. I'm trying to decide if those would fit there. Set these pupusas here for a hot second. Okay, I'm just going to see if I think I can set both of these trays on here, yeah. That will just make it easier to get in and out of the oven when the time comes. So we're going to first just bake these tortilla cups for about 10 minutes. And theoretically, I should have sprayed with oil or put liners in, but we're gonna live on the edge. I think I'm just gonna switch these out. I think these pupusas are great for freezing. They would need to be heated up for us to eat them. So get those set for about 10 minutes. Okay. Oh, Kalanomic smells like sulfur, and she said, Joanne thought you said flour. Oh, wait, here we go. Let me go back. And let's go way back. Brenda says, as a seller, it's tough. We appreciate you guys looking on our sites directly. And Brenda, if anybody's in the, what is the word I'm trying to say? The market. If anybody's in the market for a nut milk bag, Brenda, why don't you put up your site so that people can get them directly from you and just bypass Amazon together.
She tried to do that before and it won't let her.
Oh, it won't let her? Well, feel free to go to the Podia site and put it in, and also put it in Kathy's Cooking Club, and just say that Kathy asked me to put this there, so everybody knows you're not doing something you shouldn't be doing. And then Dawn said, are these corn or flour? I'm using corn this time. In the original, I used flour. And Dawn knows flour is my favorite tortilla. So I have not at this point made my own gluten-free flour tortillas that I like enough to make again, much less share with you guys. And great. Let's see what else. Yeah, they are corn. I do use flour in the recipe. You want to taste this? Spicy, yummy, cheesy sauce. We actually went to Target earlier this week, and we have not had the gumption to call about the turtle to see if the turtle lived or not yet. Because I just don't know if I can take it right now. The guy said we could call back. But then we went to Target, so actually we went ahead and got some stuff because, you know, they have a queso. And I think this queso is better than that queso. So.
What you making next?
I'm trying to decide, do I want to go on over here yet? I guess I could go ahead and make most of the cookie batter. Let me move. I put some pupusas over here, huh?
It's a heavy oven day.
It is a heavy oven day.
Why don't we take the pupusas and put them on something else? Should we find a plate or something?
Yeah, actually, one of those plates. One of our Harry Potter plates would be great. And so what I would do freezing these is if you have a small bag and you can freeze them where they're sitting like this, they're going to do better. So just try to go ahead and keep them as unsmushed as possible, knowing that if they get a little smushed, the world doesn't end. Yeah, we're going to heat them up in the air fryer, and I would probably, from here, it might not even be a whole 5 minutes. And in fact, I may put some cookies on there. We'll see. All right. Because all I need is this for assembly. I don't need those. We'll do the stew and stuff last, I think. Or at least, you want to take this one away? And we'll make the bean cookie mixture. We'll get it started at least. Good. And let me go ahead. I'm going to be making a flaxseed egg. So I have some flaxseed measured out. We're going to go ahead and put some water in there. And we will stir it around. And I know most of you guys have seen this, but it's real watery now, but by the time that we end up doing some stuff with it, it won't be quite as watery. Okay, then let me get the beans, which I think I put over here. My multitasking force is not as good today. Here, take that one. I'm going to use the smaller one. Thank you. So I'm going to rinse these black beans. Though honestly, again, this was made before aquafaba. Maybe we won't rinse them. Maybe we'll just throw them in and see what happens. Here's the trick with cooking with beans. Don't taste the mixture when you're just doing it till you have all the sugars and everything together, because it's going to taste like gross beans, and it's going to be hard to imagine how this is going to turn into a lovely cookie. So just know that now. But let's see, how much liquid do we end up putting in here? A cup of milk. So let me try this. And we'll try it with half a cup of milk instead. Or as much milk as is needed. Okay, we're going to put half a cup. These are going to use sugars, okay? So you could use a different sweetener, but you're going to have to play with the flour ratio and all that. So just know that it could be very, very different. So I'm using half a cup of raw Florida Crystals vegan sugar, and then we're going to use half a cup of brown sugar. These are quarantine cookies. These are not eat me every day cookies. Even though they are oil-free naturally, they do have the sugars in them. You could use date sugar, and I think date sugar would probably work well. If you used, let's see, I think that's close. Okay, if you use dates or date paste, again, it's going to mess with your flour ratio. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world if it changes your flour ratio either. Okay, and we're going to put in a little bit of vanilla. So let's see, how much did I say? You could also do peppermint instead of vanilla. And I like them like that. I make them that way for Christmas cookies. And I find that very enjoyable. Okay, and then we've got the chocolate chips and the dry mixes. This could thicken up a little bit more, but it'll also thicken up in here. So let's do this and then see if we need and or how much we need of non-dairy milk. And I may go ahead, even though normally I put the cocoa in with the other blend, this cocoa is a little bit clumpy, so I think I may just see about it come in here. And it's probably about half a cup. It might be a little under, and if it is, we'll up it if we need to. And so you want to get a really good puree on those beans. Not sure we're going to need milk. We'll see. There's the sugar and the vanilla in there, so it's okay to taste it. And so you can see from the side, there's still a couple of pieces that have black bean skins, but that's okay. There's not very many of those, and we're going to have chocolate chips in this cookie, so you're not going to notice as much. So now let's go ahead and get the dry stuff together. Actually, let me get that out of the main thing. And I'm going to rearrange over here for a minute, if you do not mind. All right. We still have more cans to open. Let me check these guys. I'm going to see if this was enough for them, because we want them to be just a little bit crispy. Yeah. So let me show you these. Okay. So I could take this out. So see, it makes like a little bite-sized cup. If you're using the flour tortillas, it goes a little bit more over the edge and is a little bit better. But we're going to make these real quick, and then we'll get back to our cookies. And this is seriously how easy these are to make. So granted, we did make all these things from scratch today. And that's okay. We're going to put some tofu on the bottom. And you could do this any way you wanted. Okay, that's maybe a little more than needed. I mean, ideally, you would use them up. But you're kind of making, in a way, something similar to breakfast nachos, I guess, or little cups. The flour cups, everything on the bottom isn't going to be as crispy as a nacho is right now, because the moisture from all of this is going to kind of go in there. So it's going to be more of a softer bite. But these look pretty on like a little buffet. And you could even have all the toppings around, like if people wanted to put pico de gallo or fresh jalapenos, just really anything you want. Okay. Then next, we're going to take some of these crumbles that we crumbled up. Now you could stop here. Or actually, we'll do one way and one the other way. We'll do this one with crumbles on the bottom and cheese on the top, and we'll do the other cheese on the bottom. And this would be good as an appetizer for any time. You don't have to use scrambled tofu with it, you know. I'm thinking this pan is going to be nicer because then the sausage will stay crispy. Because the thing is when you're making things with like these crumbles with oats and beans, if they get wet again, they do kind of return a little bit to their natural state, as I like to call it. Okay. Let me move this and we'll get those others going. And now we'll top it with some of these. Did you get to try the chorizo? That's a no. Are you okay?
I just put a pepper in my nose from somewhere. There's something spicy sitting out.
See what I live with, guys?
What is this?
Those are just chilies, green chilies. They're not that spicy. Okay. Those are good. Okay, I need to put this here, I think, for right now. And we're going to stick these guys in here while we're making our, oh, it's still warm. That's why I left the other thing there. And we're going to keep those in there for about, I'd say about 10 minutes again. Basically, everything's cooked, right? So we're just trying to get it to warm up a little bit. Okay, let me wipe up a little of this. It's always exciting to wipe up this counter later on. Ooh, I almost forgot to bring over the baking soda. That would have been sad. Okay, so for the chocolate cookies for the dry mix, because we made the wet mix in the blender already, we are, and actually, let me do this. I've kind of got that, everything all smushed up in that jar to keep the gluten-free flour in one place. But honestly, it's going to be hard to measure this way because it's too packed down. So I'm going to take some out and put in here to measure it. Because you want it to be light and fluffy. And we're going to use about 1.5. This is a 1/4 cup, so we're going to do 4 of these. 3, 4. We're going to do 2 more. And I'm a rebel baker too. So it's kind of like close enough. You know what? If I add too much flour, then I can just add some more non-dairy milk later on. It's not the end of the world. Very few things are the end of the world. So we want flour. We added our cocoa in there. We're going to do a teaspoon of baking soda. Nope, that had vinegar in it. That's great. We'll just use 2 half teaspoons of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And probably if you're my friend Jenny Field, you would say that is not enough salt and double it. So you could if you like kind of a saltier, salty sweet sort of thing. And that's really all that's in this. So let's mix those together really well. So we just want to make sure we don't get a big mouthful of baking soda. Cheryl's looking at me like, why do we need to mix those things together first? And that would be why. Because it is unpleasant if you do not. Isn't it funny though? We've already made 4 recipes, basically, right? We made the queso, the chorizo. We made the cheese. We made them all together. And we made pupusas from scratch. And it's only an hour and a half. And we're almost going to be done with our cookies. We are on it today. Okay. And so, since I did this differently, I may have to adjust it, right? I was just kind of like, since these cookies were developed pre-aquafaba, I just wanted to see what might happen. So I'm just pouring this stuff out of the blender, and it needs to be blended really, really well. You don't want chunks of beans, but some loose bean skins are fine. Those are not a problem. Okay, let me let you see this. And I'm also using a gluten-free flour blend, whereas before I had used a whole wheat pastry flour. So I may have to adjust for that as well. So I find I'm always experimenting with ingredients. So I find that I am always checking things to see, maybe what needs to be different. I am thinking we don't need any extra liquid. In fact, thinking we're going to need possibly a little more flour, but everything isn't mixed in yet, so let's don't call it till it's time. Because that's a little bit too thin. That's going to spread out too much. Also is a good time to taste the batter and get the little scoop parts off here. See, there's definitely some flour hanging out there. Ooh, they taste good. They taste real good. But I don't like how thin the batter is right now, so I'm going to thicken it up just a little bit. So I am going to probably start with just like 2 tablespoons of flour. And so you're kind of folding it in, because if I just started going crazy, all the flour is just going to flop out everywhere. So when they say fold, that's what they mean. Here, Cheryl, I'll move these over here. You could also move them over here. The green chilies are killing her. Okay. So I just want the batter to be just a little stiffer. We're also going to put a bunch of chocolate chips in here too. Now, if you're not doing sugar, you could get Lily's stevia chocolate chips. I have not found any monk fruit, but you could also chop up a bar. See how I think that's, I'm going to want it to hold up a little bit more, so I'm going to add a couple more tablespoons. And some of it could just be the flour choice. So if you don't have whole wheat pastry flour and you use all-purpose, you just might find that you need a little more flour. If you use spelt flour, you might need a little more liquid. So that's what some of this stuff is about, just kind of getting used to it. And I mean, already we're putting beans in a cookie. So this is not the light, fluffy French pastry of anyone's dreams. Is it tasty? Yes. Is it delicious? Yes. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. But that is another reason why I just don't worry that much. And it's just about getting the batter about where you want it. Okay? And always when you're adding something, make sure you're scooping all the way under the bottom, because that's where little bits of flour and things hide. Okay. I haven't had any success with my gluten-free tortillas, says Marilyn. Schrodinger's turtle. Oh, I get it now. Donk. And vegan Nana like Dawn's joke. Zelda is Dawn, my friend. So if you hear me say that, the bean puree trick. And when it comes to cooking, I'll add or adjust anything, but when it comes to baking, I follow directions to the letter. Says your cranky old friend Kathy. Don't worry about all that. Okay, so I use the Enjoy Life chips, and I like the mini chips a lot. And so I put a whole lot of them in here too. I think it's a cup and a half, but let's look at 1 cup and let's see if that might not be enough. I feel like kind of feel a little rationy. There's a piece of some melted ones that I'm going to take out of there. I'm a little stingy with my chocolate chips these days because we don't have a whole lot of them left right now. And Enjoy Life ones are quite expensive, but I love the mini chips in these. Yeah, I'm going to add in the rest. These are the ones from the freezer. Yeah, we'll go ahead. So it's basically the whole bag goes in. This is a 10-ounce bag. So if you're using not fancy gluten-free ones, then you may not have to use the whole bag. It might be more than 10 ounces. So let me let you see this batter a little more. Yeah, baking is scary. I just go for it. I actually made up a banana bread recipe as I went along. I just kept adding flour and milk and stuff until it was about right. And it worked out okay. Okay, let's take a look at these guys. Yeah. I would definitely say the cups with the sausage on top are the most attractive. But see, you can almost pick it up. So these are not going to stick. You don't need to oil it. So I think we should take just a moment away from our cookies and make a little plate for Cheryl. What do you guys say? I think you would all be on board with that. I have not fed her today. So we'll give her a little brunch extravaganza. So I'm just kind of slipping the fork underneath these, and they're just coming right out. And in general, not today, but usually 4 of these is about a tortilla's worth. These are like little mini tacos. So this is what I'm going to give Cheryl. And I'll be right back, and we are scooping out some cookie dough. It's okay. Everyone wants to feed you. And I think you're going to enjoy them. They are good. Okay. Now, okay, I think this is a nice stiff batter. We're still using the oven on pretty much the same old setting. And I may not make all of these right this second, just because it makes a lot. But let me get some more of this stuff out of the way. Okay. It's past lunchtime. Yeah, it's like 1:45. You ate while I cooked. That's awesome. Yeah, and the mini rancheros are really fun. I think they're really, really fun. So we're going to make little bitty cookies. And see how they're holding up now? And you could make little mini nice cream sandwiches. So you could actually make some vanilla ice cream with bananas. And if you don't smush them, they'll just kind of stay like this, like little heaped up, which I kind of like them this way. Because they don't have oil, they're not really spreading. And there are two different things you could do with this dough. One is you can make it all or half bake them and then just bake them the rest of the way when you want to eat them, so you have a warm cookie. Another thing is you could put the dough, this dough seems a little soft for that. I have a cookie dough keeper that kind of works. Okay. Let's try these guys out. And we're going to cook them about 10 minutes. Now, so what's not going to happen with these cookies? What's not going to happen is these are not going to be crunchy cookies. These are soft, cakey cookies, okay? So know that. We're going to try them like this. I'm curious to see if they're going to spread at all, since the batter is a little thinner than it used to be last time I remember. Let's put the timer on for 10 minutes. And then let's stoop another sheet real quick. Oh, Marilyn had some lima bean soup. Yum. But so sometimes, because this batter is not hard to make, right? But I get lazy, but it's kind of nice. I like making a whole bunch of cookies or something at the same time and freezing them, or freezing a dozen. I have, let me see if they're here. I don't know if they're here anymore. Yeah, here we go. These are the cookie dough things I was telling you about. So I got these at TJ Maxx, and literally it freezes a cookie dough. And we can do some of those too. And then it just pops out and you just put it in the oven. So you can actually eat 1 or 2 warm cookies at a time, which I think is really kind of cool. I like it. And if you do not want to experiment with the cookies like I have today, the recipe that I've given you is tried and true and does not use aquafaba from the beans. It actually uses non-dairy milk. So these could go a little awry, and I'm okay with that. I'm willing to take that risk for you guys. Because it does seem weird now, the idea of wasting bean water. Stick those guys up in there. Okay. So let's go ahead and do some of them in here. And Infinite Love and Gratitude says, thank you so much for this wonderful class. Will we have access to written recipes for all these delicious dishes? Absolutely. As Brenda says, they're on the Podia site, the one that says webinar for this class, and they will be up on the regular class part as well. And if you're not sure what you logged in, you can go to I forgot my password. And Joanne says you don't need to worry about this crowd missing their meals. That's hilarious. And so see, this is about the right size for these. And this, I think, is a tablespoon. It could be a tablespoon and a half. I think it's a tablespoon. And I like doing it this way because, as you guys know, I'm not the best eyeballer. And so when I put on the little lid, it's going to smush them the way they're supposed to be smushed, hopefully. That one looks a little hefty. Let's get a little bit of that out. That one also looks a little hefty. Okay, and then you can either just flatten them by this, right? And I just put this lid on that gets to be reused. And it goes in the freezer just like this. And what's cool is the bottom part is silicone, so it just pops them out. And so that's really nice. So we'll go ahead and do one more, and then I'll probably have a few more to bake, and I can decide if I'm going to half bake them or full bake them. But these usually make 36 little teeny tiny cookies. So these are also good. It's a good recipe if you wanted to make something and take to a neighbor or to the hardworking people at your local hospital. If you were doing anything like that, this is a good recipe. Okay. And we'll smush that on there. And I like these too because they're small and they don't take up a lot of room. There we go. And it's kind of a lovely surprise when you're like, I would really like something sweet to eat, and you're like, I just need to pop this in the oven for a minute or two and warm it, get it done, you know? It's good. It's a good thing. Yes, I will try and find these cookie dough things. When the world opens back up, it will probably be at TJ Maxx or someplace like that. So I know that now is not that time. And let's see, I think this guy's plugged in, isn't it? Yes. So while we're getting those things done, we're going to get ready to do the next dish. So I'm going to check on these guys a little bit. And the first thing we're going to do is take some sweet potatoes, and we're going to cook them. So I'm just going to cook them in the Instant Pot for about 10 minutes while we're making the stew. So we're making a pineapple bean stew that's going to be over lime coconut sweet potatoes. The recipe calls for light coconut milk, but I didn't have any, so I'm going to be using full fat coconut milk. You could also just use non-dairy milk, and you could put a little coconut sweetener in there, or you could just have lime potatoes. Lime sweet potatoes, and those would be delicious too. So don't feel like you need to change what you're comfortable eating to make this recipe, because you don't have to. You know I wouldn't do that to you. I always end up with such a hot mess over here. You're like, I know, right? There's a couple of pieces of peel or something in there. That's probably plenty. So I'm just going to cook these on high pressure for about 10 minutes. There we go. Make sure I'm on sealing, make sure I'm on pressure cook, and we'll cook for about 10 minutes. Okay. Then we can use black beans in this, but I made some other beans. And let's see how they're doing right now. And also these cookies are going to be beeping in a second too. I had cooked up some scarlet runner beans, and I left them in here because they weren't quite cooked enough for me. They're good now. Okay, I'm going to need about, how many cups? About 3 cups. You don't have to have these fancy beans. Okay, I want you to understand that right now. You do not have to have fancy beans. I had them, and I wanted to kind of show them to you, because these scarlet runner beans are super cool. They are giant, ginormous beans. And I'll get everything started to set up over here. But let's, for right now, while I'm running around, you look at the beautiful beans. They're kind of awesome. And in fact, this is the size of them before they're cooked. And this is big for a bean anyhow, but I mean, look in my hand, that's a big, big bean. And it's very kind of meaty. I try not to use that word very often, but I find them an incredibly hearty bean. And they're just so lovely. And the mouthfeel, so let me bite one of these for you. See how it kind of stays together, but it's still cooked. It's kind of a drier on the inside bean. Now, they're expensive, though you can grow them at your home as well. So that's something else that you could do. Or you could go get a can of black beans or pinto beans or something like that and use those. Glasses are all fogged up. So the first thing I'm doing is just barely touching the top, and these are too soft. So they're definitely too soft for me to move yet. And actually, I can kind of let you see how they look a lot like those crackly cookies that you see a lot at Christmas. And you could put some powdered sugar over these for Christmas, for sure. Let's do let's check them again in 5 minutes.
So you have quite a few questions about the molds that you were using for the cookie dough.
Right, and I'm supposed to put up a link.
Right. They also had questions about those.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, you guys. Let's go back. Okay, awesome. Can I cut? No, that's a good question. Do I put them directly in the oven? No, because the red part is silicone, but the other part is just plain old plastic. So I think it would melt. So what I do is I pop 2 cookies out, put the lid back on, put the rest in, because that means we don't eat all 6 cookies. That is why we have those more than anything. And then I just put them on I put them in the oven because I prefer the texture. You could put it in the air fryer, would work just as well too. And would the ice cube trays that you use for veggie broth work for the dough? You could try that. I would be scared it would stick in there and not come out because it's going to freeze a little bit softly. Yeah, I don't know that you could get it out like that, so that's why I like those little pushy things. And this is the Milthy, and what she means is the electric pressure cooker that I'm using to cook the sweet potatoes is a Milthy brand. This is the Milthy 1.0. The 2.0 is over here and has the fancier features. And these are from Rancho Gordo. I also have some Scarlet Runner beans from the Nourish box, which is the whole food plant-based subscription box. Okay, awesome. Sorry I got behind on questions, you guys. All right. And we'll go ahead and start doing, well, I'm like, this is going to interrupt me. Actually, will you pay attention to the cookies? And when the thing goes off in 2.5 minutes, check it and switch them. I think I'm going to be able to use this for our stew. So this is pineapple rum beans. You do not have to put rum in them. So you just don't. And let me get a little water so we can do some saute action. Almost all my recipes say you can saute in oil or water saute, depending on what you like. So go ahead and put a little bit of water in there. Actually, I'll put all that water in there and get some extra. I like having extra. Okay. And it would help if I bring the rest of the stuff over too, wouldn't it?
Like,
Wait, that's for me.
shots.
Woo! No. And actually, like this, I got these at thrift stores too, because you know me. And this actually measures in tablespoons and teaspoons. But it is a shot glass as well. I cannot lie to you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get something to saute these onions with. Let's use this guy. Okay, awesome. And I'm using red onions because I've gone through my white onions. So you can use whichever onions you want. These are ones that I had cut up and froze. Should you like to revisit and spend some extra time with me, go onto my plant-based Instant Pot Facebook page, and there is a video. So if you go to the left-hand side, you can go to videos. You can find the video where I cut onions for an hour and a half. And cut onions with me. And then I freeze them in Ziploc bags. You can freeze them other ways, but I like having them thin because you can just break off what you need. Why does it seem like there's more mess this time? Doesn't it seem like there's more mess?
There's a lot of mess.
There's a lot of mess. This is going to be exciting cleaning up today. Oh, here, have a bean. They're so good. Okay. Yeah, the epic onion chat session. You think it's, oh wait, here, let's see. Cheryl did hook up a fan. Do we need a fan?
I think we do.
Okay. We'll try it out.
Just let it run. It's not like it's a big deal.
Yeah, these are good. Move this other part down. So let me show you these cookies.
Looks good, I think.
Okay.
I mean, you still get some, but
Is that worse, better, worse?
worse.
Okay. Well, here's some cookies. And so they're still a little soft, but they're not mushy. And then I usually let these cool a little extra. But you should be able to kind of slide this under. And that's what the bottoms are going to look like a little bit. And it's very cakey. Actually, I can't do this and hold it up in the air like this. There we go. I had to sit it down while I cut. But see how it's very cakey? You guys see that? They are definitely delicious though. No doubt about that. There might be a piece in my mouth right now. And let's go ahead and use some real garlic in here. And I'm going to pull out my exciting garlic smusher. I'll move these guys away just so you can see the smushing of the garlic. The best part of my day. And this is what it looks like. It's heavy duty. I got it at the thrift store. And now I am more of a fresh garlic lover because that was it. That's all it took. And I love it. And so I've been ordering more fresh garlic and things from Misfit when I can. Sometimes they'll have elephant garlic, the big one. And I will give this to Cheryl so she can rinse that off before it becomes a problem. And Joanne says, yay, the lens isn't clouding as much. Do you have it blowing or?
It's blowing.
Oh, it is.
I think I need to make it closer to the camera.
Okay. We'll work it out. I think it's a great first step. And Brenda says, yay, Cheryl, the fan works, thanks. And Marilyn says, I'm going to cut onions with you. I love the onion cut live. I have some onions that need to be used. I'm going to caramelize them in the crock pot and then put them in oh, that sounds great. Yeah, you can caramelize a big old pot of them and they are delicious. Okay, we're just cooking these puppies up. So how do they taste? Are you talking about my cookies? I'll show you how they taste. I took a little bite already. So they're still super moist, and they're not going to stay moist forever because they don't have any oil in them. The beans help. My lunch is half a cookie. No, I'm going to be eating lots of good things after this, so don't worry about me. So the outside has just a slight crisp to it, and the inside is very moist. They're really good. And they do have sugar and things in them, so. But you could totally try making these with dates, and I'll see what I can do about coming up with something that uses dates as well. Okay, we're going to add the pineapple, and this is just frozen pineapple. And that is going to slow down cooking, and that's okay.
I can do the onion.
And this is the other dozen cookies. So I'm going to touch the tops lightly, and that feels good. I want them to be a little springy, but if they feel like mush, then they're not ready. And now we can turn this oven off. Okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You were a helper. Yeah, you can steal another cookie. How were your breakfast bites?
They were really, really delicious.
And we made all of the things except for the tortilla today.
Wow.
I know. We actually made more recipes than I thought we were going to make. And this is our last one. Now, we could squish, as this pineapple cooks down a little bit, we could use crushed pineapple. This is just what I had. Normally, I would use it from a can, or if I had a pineapple, something fresh. This is just kind of giving us something a little different to do with our beans. So again, we've got these scarlet runner beans, and we're going to put the beans in here, and we're just making a stew. So the beans are cooked. And we're going to put the rum in there. And then we're going to put some spices in. You don't have to use the rum. The rum should cook off so there's no alcohol in there, but if you don't do alcohol, then do not use it. It just adds a little extra flavor. You could also use a rum extract, though I have to tell you that most flavor extracts have alcohol in them too, so you might actually be getting less alcohol by using a lower proof rum. We're going to put a teaspoon of thyme in here. What's the question?
That was for somebody else.
Okay. So these are kind of Caribbean-esque. It's not exact. Yes, Cheryl does make a great sous chef, and she made sure to put that up there. And then we're going to use about a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I'm going to lower pineapple rum beans over coconut sweet potato mash. We haven't had these in a long time.
Just say it sounds familiar.
I think it's from 8 years ago. And you can put just a little bit of cayenne pepper, and we're just going to put just a teeny, teeny, tiny bit. Because you want it to have, if you can take spice or your family can take spice, use more. We're going to use a teaspoon of marjoram. And if you don't have marjoram, you could use a little extra thyme and maybe half the amount of oregano. And we're going to put a little bit of cumin in there.
It's a lot of onions in there.
That's what's going to make it good. And we're going to put a little bit of black pepper in there. You can smell how good that smells, though. And so I used a spiced rum from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now this isn't going to be a creamy bean dish. This is going to be more of just like a chunky bean dish. And I know a lot of you are used to me doing more creamy bean dishes. But we're going to go ahead, and I think that's got enough liquid in it as it is. And we're going to let that tastes good. We're going to cover it, and we're going to let it simmer. So we're going to take it down a little bit. And it's probably going to simmer. I was thinking these potatoes would be a little bit faster. So, 10 minutes from now, we will have dinner. So, do you guys have questions while I'm kind of getting ready for, because I actually do, I need to open up the coconut milk, and then I need to juice and zest my lime that I set somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, the look of the scarlet runner beans. I also, in the bean book, I make, a Thai coconut soup with them. And I'll show you the picture of that. It's really pretty. They're just kind of stunners. And they are pretty, oh no, I used the tongue of fire in these, in the Thai coconut. What was it that I'm thinking? But I think this, if I remember correctly, this, index isn't super helpful. I don't do the indexes, so I can't be held responsible. That's all I have to say. Okay, I'm looking under. Wow, they did this really weird. So, but anyhow, it's a good book, and it's a lot of fun. And so I know most of us do not do full-fat coconut milk. This is the last can of coconut milk in my pantry.
Really?
Really, I know. It's kind of shocking. And we are going to be using a half a cup of this. So we're not going to use all of it. And what you're going to see, and actually you want to switch things for me? Okay. Is that, see how the fat is kind of up near the top? Now, if you're in one of those places where it's getting ready to snow, it's going to be a solid sheet of fat. It is warm in here, and we've had the oven on. So, but it's good to mix it up. This way? And so it's pretty thin. It is only thin because it's warm. Again, I tell you. Because it seems like that's just not a true thing, but it is. Because the coconut fat melts. And so it's totally different doing this in a cold day versus a hot day. So this mixed up super easy. Your mileage may vary, is all I'm saying to you. Let me get another get a cutting board. Let's do the white one, maybe. That's good enough.
I was going to say I washed the green one.
Awesome. So I have that off camera. That's not super pretty. You don't need to be seeing that. And so I'm just going to zest this orange. Anybody have a guess of what this is? Because it's not an orange, let me assure you. I don't think you can't. You can sort of see that. So I'm just going to go around, and what you don't want to do is get that white underneath while you're juicing your lime that some people sometimes call oranges for crazy reasons. And there's so much flavor in this outside zest. And it just, I mean, it's amazing. So honestly, a good thing to do, and I don't always do it either, is if you're going to use the juice of this, of any citrus, is to zest it and then you can freeze it. I'd freeze it on like a little tray or something and let it get frozen and then put it in a bag so it doesn't all clump together. But you can save that for a long time, or you could dehydrate it in your dehydrator. I do end up buying some sometimes, and the quality is never as good as if you do it yourself.
So Joanne was asking, do you do your own photography for your books?
I do. I do now. So like the vegan book, the Great Vegan Bean book was taken by Renee Comet. Some of the other books, so the Instant Pot books, the Air Fryer book. Was there another book that I did? No, I think those are the 3 that I've done. I've done 1 Air Fryer book and 2 Instant Pot books are the books that I've done. But yeah, so I've worked with photographers before then, but for the past 4 years, I've been doing them myself. And this is lime. Yeah, I took a photography class and then I practiced a lot. So I kind of worked on it pretty hard to get it to where it was. But I kind of like being able to do my own photography, mostly because then I can really decide exactly how everything is. And I'm just stirring this in a little bit, making sure there's enough liquid in there. Okay. I'm going to grab a little spatula. Page 114 in this book. Yeah, that's what these are. And actually, I did use the scarlet runner beans in here too. So that is the picture of that. I like serving things over mashed taters. So Renee Comet is like super fancy. So she has stamps and stuff she's done. And she does a lot of photography for USA Today and all these other places. And we met at a conference. So what I did do was all the food styling on this book. So we spent 7 days, 12 hours a day doing the photographs for this book. And I made the food, and I cooked a lot of things in slow cookers the night before. So that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed it a lot. And Renee was kind of like, are you ready to be a food stylist? And I'm like, there's not really a lot of work in the world for vegan food stylists. There are for people to do vegan food styling, but they usually are not only doing that. So I kind of went my own way, like the rebel I am. I'm going to cut this lime in half so it can be ready to be juiced. We don't have very many minutes before that's ready. I'm going to need a big bowl to put the potatoes in after I drain them. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Brenda. But yeah, food photography is harder than it seems. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. You know how life is, right? Okay, I'm gonna take all these guys over here. We've got lots of things to bag up for the freezer, and if Faith or Jessica is watching, perhaps some of this is for you.
Joanne wants to know what's in the other IP.
Oh, that's where I cooked the scarlet runner beans. So I did them this morning, so I did a quick soak. So I covered them with water and I cooked them for 10 minutes, quick pressure release. And then I ended up cooking them about 13 minutes, and then I let them stay on warm. So I probably next time would cook them about 15 minutes. And they were pretty fresh ones.
And then these are the potatoes?
Yeah, those are the sweet potatoes that are in this milthy
The
right
ones that I...
that you peeled. Cheryl peeled the sweet potatoes. Oh, and I do need a potato masher. Well, actually, I probably won't even need a potato masher. I'll probably just need this. But I'll get it out just in case.
Got the heavy duty one.
The big potato masher.
This one's like ready for the zombie apocalypse.
It is.
It weighs like 3 pounds.
It's a lot like that garlic presser. It's just, but and it's a Jamie Oliver one, and it's really nice. The company sent it to me, and I don't think we can mess this up. I mean, it's like that garlic press. It's very, very hefty. Okay, so now we're going to manually release some of this. We'll do a little at a time. How are we doing with the camera? You want me to move it a little bit? Now that we have a good camera up there, we have to pay better attention. We being me.
So Tina's asking about old beans.
There is no time limit to use beans. However, the older the beans, the longer they'll need to cook. So if they're really old, and I have some that are years old, I soak them overnight, sometimes through till dinner, and then I just know that it's going to take a while. So I've heard of someone who had like just regular brown lentils that were really old and cooked them for 2 days. So you could end up in that situation, but they should finally cook and be good, if that makes sense. I feel like it's taking 10 minutes to let the pressure out this time. I feel like we should have a dance break. Woo! And yes, I really did put the rum in the beans. I did not drink it. I can't multitask and drink rum. That I can promise you. Anything else up here? Oh, I just think it's awesome that you're watching from work, Jackie. And she said, I'm glad I can go back and watch this Friday when I'm off. Yeah, and don't forget, now, I know some of you guys are signed up for the special April and underemployed. You are just getting April classes at this point. So just know that. Things could change a little bit, but for right now, that's where we're going with it. And I don't know actually if I can make any retroactive changes. I was kind of thinking things would be better by now, and now I'm thinking we may be down for a couple months longer, at least another month.
Yeah, I'm thinking a month.
So
By the time everything's slowly.
good gracious, thank you. And don't forget, it holds itself, in case you didn't know. It's exciting. Now I'm going to get some pot holders, and I'm going to drain these. And actually, Where is my other pot holder? I guess this one will work. Oh, there it is. Can you take care of that? I made a mess.
Oh,
I made a big mess.
yeah, you did.
I know I did. That's why I told you I made a big mess. I knocked over watery things. Super not helpful. I think it's getting time for me to have something to eat, like a real person does. Yeah, 3 days in the crock pot, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not a thing in the world. Okay, so we've got these potatoes. They're really pretty mushed up, so I don't think we're going to need the giant musher. I think all we need to do is just smash it with a wooden spoon. And if you like yours a certain way, like really, really smooth, you could puree them if you want to. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put the juice of a lime. Okay, so peel that over there. And we're going to get the zest that we put in. And if you had to use lime juice from your fridge, that's okay, right? There's always a best way to do things, but then there's also another way to just do them a little better. And see how they could be fine just like that. We're making ours ridiculously creamy. We're making quarantine food. Things from a can with what you have. Now these may seem a little bit too soft, but as they kind of sit here, they will, and I mix it a little bit more too, they will stiffen up a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. Oh my God, those are so good. And they almost need no salt. I'm just going to put a little bit because of the lime juice, gives it that real bright burst. Let me taste these. This would be a delicious dessert too. You could kind of probably put it in the fridge and let it firm up a little bit and have like a sweet potato pudding. Though that's not the purpose. Its purpose is to be dinner or lunch. And let's take a look at these pineapple beans. And see how that's all kind of cooked down nice. Now, one thing Cheryl probably would have liked better if I had pureed the onions and the pineapple and all that together, and you could do that and just make a sauce and cook the beans in that sauce. So that's something else. I just like the way this looks. And you can kind of see what it would look like. It's just a really beautiful, festive, happy dish. And that is our final meal of the day. So what you got today in the fun, I think I called it Fun and Fast Bean class, or Fast and Fun. have no idea. This is what happens. After the class is over, my brain is like white clean. I'm a clean slate. But so we started off, we made pupusas, which you probably thought would take this long on their own. And we saw that it didn't take that long. It takes almost no time to make the dough. We made a filling that was, in fact, right from a can of beans, and it took 5 minutes, if that, to make that filling. We didn't use any fancy equipment. We just smushed them, put them in pupusas. We bake them. We have extra that are going to go in the freezer. We can reheat them in the oven using a skillet or in an air fryer. We made little breakfast ranchero cups that we made a quick and easy, again, mashed together tofu scramble. I could have taken that same tofu scramble that I made for there, put in a skillet along with, well, actually I could have cooked some of the chorizo until it was about there where we cooked it, kind of crunchy. We're starting to get that way, balling up a little bit. I could have gone ahead and thrown in the scramble part with that and made a big pan of scramble, and we could have served that on the side, some of the bean cashew cheese, queso, and we could do like some sliced avocado, or we could do some pickled jalapeno. We could do a lot of different things with that and kind of present it a different way. You could also serve that over roasted potatoes for like a hash. So there's a lot of different things we could do. If you don't want to take the time to cut the tortillas and make the little mini ranchero cups, you can still make all the parts and make a bigger baked tortilla that you just pour everything over and have like a breakfast buffet. We also made cookies, yay, double chocolate bean cookies.
So delicious.
They're some of Cheryl's favorite. Cheryl was glad because I didn't have any peppermint extract, so I used
Very
vanilla.
super
I like them when they're peppermint the best. Oh, good. I reminded Marilyn that she has lime juice in the fridge. And yeah, easy and fast bean class. But part of the reason it's fast is these beans were cooked. We used scarlet runner beans in here, but we could have used canned beans. Did I forget anything else? I feel like,
Did you talk about the breakfast?
yeah, all the different parts of the breakfast things, the cookies, pupusas, and this. So we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meals, at least 5 meals, and cookies for a couple of weeks. So that's pretty good. Well, it would be a couple weeks. I'll probably give half of this to our friends too. So we've been doing that, especially this Saturday. And I was doing another class today, so that's a little soon. So you guys, the breakfast tortilla nachos, yep. I really appreciate you guys showing up and being the most amazing people ever. If you have any questions about these, this is going to go over to Podia. So you should be able to watch it under the webinar right now. And then I'm trying to copy it into the course as well, because this webinar function is new, so we're seeing how it works. You can't ask questions on that page, because if you could just ask questions later, I wouldn't have both pages. But don't forget, it's not a done deal. You always get to ask me questions. You get to watch this class as many times as you'd like. And I'm going to be coming up with some classes for next month. So if you would like to do some input, go over to Kathy's Club, the Facebook group, and give me some suggestions, because I'd like some. And then Munchie says, thank you. I really appreciate the classes. Oh, and Brenda says, thank you, Kathy. Great class. And Joanne said, so much fun. You guys are the best. Go and have a wonderful, wonderful day. And just be sure to, if you make some of this stuff, take pictures. Even if you don't make this stuff and you make something else fun. Don't forget, if you're not already in my free private Facebook group, Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester, you can post your pictures there. They make me happy. That's all I have to say about that. And Vegan Anna says she's so excited about trying the recipes. And Joanne's right. Eat, and then you get to do the dishes. Yeah, sometimes we clean up for a couple of hours. It takes as long to clean up after the class as it does to do the class, usually. This is why I'm so appreciative to do to class in my kitchen, because when we go and we travel to do in-person classes, it's hours and hours and hours of work just to pack things up and unpack things back and forth. So, and Brenda says she appreciated the midweek class. I thought I would try it out, seeing that it's the new normal and seeing how many people showed up and what it seemed like. Carol said the pineapple beans and sweet potatoes look so yummy and easy and fun again. Yeah. And yeah, the pineapple beans and potatoes, it's really quite a simple dish because, again, this could have just been made with black beans, cans of black beans, and they would be delicious. And it's just easy, but since we're being inside more, we're going out to eat less and things like that, which are kind of good, but sometimes you need something different and treaty. And I think you can make these where these will fit into your diet as well. Okay, guys, then I'm going to sign off, and I will be talking to you soon.